Hello everyone. How are you doing? And the quick question is, can you actually hear me and see me? And does everything sound and look good before I do anything else? Let's see. Video mark, hello. Let's see if anyone is anyone out there. I see we can't have some people coming in. I just want to make sure that everything is working fine. Fantastic. Looks good, sounds good. Excellent. So, happy Thursday, September 19, 2024. And welcome everyone to another Ask the Trainer. I'm going to be flying solo today. Everyone else is extremely busy. And I'm going to start with a bit of housekeeping before we get into the show. We have some questions from our online form. More on that later. And hopefully, we're going to have some questions in the chat as well. The only thing I want to remind you is always preface your question with the word question capitalized because it's easier for me to look around my 6 monitors here and identify those questions from general comments and compliments. Thank you very much. So let me quickly bring up my screen, and I'm going to be posting links and all that. So if you go to this link, I have so many things. I think I need another 3 or 4 monitors to get things going here because 3 monitors are not enough apparently. So let me make sure that my microphone is close. Excellent. So first of all, if you want to go to this page, the page you're seeing here, that has all the relevant information, make sure you go over here to this link, which I'm going to post in the comments as well, so everyone has it for a quick copy paste. And this page here takes you to the Maxon events. This one over here that shows what events are going on. And it's very interesting to see if there's anything close to you which you can watch online or go and attend in person. The other link we have here is the Training Team YouTube channel, which is this one here, where we see all the live shows alongside the Maxon YouTube channel. So the live shows are streamed on the Maxon and the Maxon Training Team YouTube channels. But the recorded ones, after our very good friend and mentor, Dr. Sassy, has added the timestamps and the comments, we will only share it on the Maxon Training Team YouTube channel. And of course, if you want to get your monthly free t-shirt, you click on this link and it will take you somewhere here. And for this month, let me remove that banner over there. You will use, so for September, it's House of Polygons. And let me quickly paste it in the chat so you don't have to. Let me go, that's the wrong chat, here in the comments. There you go. So this is the code to claim your free t-shirt. You only pay for postage and packaging, including, I think, folding. And of course, do not forget to go and check out Cineversity. And Cineversity, we are adding as fast as we can tutorials and videos from the old Cineversity. I had a request from several users for the motion tracking series I did a few years back, and I think that has successfully been added and migrated to the new Cineversity. And of course, you can always search to find particular tutorials about particular subjects. If for any reason, and let me remove this, if for any reason you think that there's an interesting tutorial you had visited, you had watched, and you wanted migrated, we are going to try to migrate as much as possible, but there's always a priority list. So let me post this link over here, which is a form, which if you go to that form, you can fill it in and it will give us an idea of which series you would like us to prioritize. And we will do the best we can. And yeah, I think that's all I have for the housekeeping. Let me make sure that I showed everything. Um, let's see. Don't forget to go to maxon.net to check out all the new developments. There's a new version 2025 with a quick bug fix version at 2025.0.1. You'll find it in your downloads section of your account. And on Monday on Create with Maxon, we're going to do a show that showcases some of these later features, and I'm going to be joined, I think, with by at least Ellie, maybe Darren. So we're going to set up some things. I'm not absolutely sure yet. Let me see what else we have. Yeah, don't forget that you can contact both Jonas Bills, hi Jonas, and myself on Twixer, and I have my direct messages open. And let me put my face up here. There we go. If you have any questions, just make sure that your questions are concise. Maybe share a file, simplified file. Don't use third-party plugins. Don't use third-party renderers and all that. Remove materials if it's not a material problem. Make it easier for us to be able to help you. And as many users already know, a lot of the questions I get do end up becoming tutorials or quick tips. And yeah, I think that's the list of things I wanted to share with you. So, oh, finally, there's one more little thing. If you prefer, instead of typing, to use QR codes, I think I have a QR code somewhere around here, which I can't find right now. Well, I'll post it at the end. I think at the end credit. Oh, there it is. Boop. Replacing my face with this. I think this is the updated link. Otherwise, just copy and paste it from the comments. There we go. Okie doke. And let's begin with some of the questions. So I've got the questions over here. Some of them are quite big. I'm going to read as much as possible and maybe even paste something. And for that, I'm going to get my browser down. I'm going to bring up my full screen so you can see my full Cinema 4D. You can see I'm working on 2025.0.1. And I'm checking for any questions from the chat. Nothing. Just say hi to everyone. Fanfare, Felipe, my good friend Sharon, Vita, Zach, Santa Cruz, Surf Pigs. Ooh, someone, a surfer out there. Zach and Video Mark, thanks for joining me one more time, our regulars or new viewers. So let's go to the first question, which I'm going to copy and paste it as a banner. It's a much bigger question, but the gist of it is, how can I model things like sheet metal in a more or less parametric way? And this is a very interesting one, because once you are able to work with the techniques I'm going to show you, which are fairly simple, you will be able to make, if not fully parametric objects, at least partially parametric ones. And that's always a good thing. The question generally asks, the user wants to start with one quad polygon, keeping it simple, and then extrude some edges, 30 degrees and stuff like that. So as far as I understand it, what we are trying to create, I'm going to load a file. And this is, for example, something we could do. And I'm going to show you how you could do something like this. The bending, the 30 degrees, is done using a bend deformer, right? I'm using, everything is under a thicken. We're going to replicate this. And I'm using fields to isolate various parts of the model in which I am using bevels for these, and I'm using the bevel for the middle so it folds nicely, and even the bending over there. So let's go ahead and start with a plane. Now, planning, when you're doing procedural modeling, is a very important aspect. And let's set this to 1-on-1. And actually, on the z-axis, it's the wrong one. I want 2, because the main construct is going to be split in two. Now, sometimes because this becomes too busy, I turn off these elements and I can see clearly my model. And the first ask here in terms of the priority of things is to define certain certain selections. And you can see here I have an edge selection and a point selection. So I want to be able, first of all, to subdivide this line in the middle in a procedural way, and then bevel these four corners alone. But there is no specific method other than doing it spatially. We don't have a way that says find all the corner points or something like that. Maybe something like this could be developed as a capsule, as a node setup, and so forth, but that's out of the scope. For now, we're going to keep it quite simple. So first of all, let's go and create our point selections. So let's get a point selection here, and let's go and name it. It's good to name these things corners. Good. Now, the way we're going to define these four corners is using a spatial configuration, and that entails having a field setup. Now, the best one for this would be something like a box field. And if you go to the remapping, you can actually get the inner offset and just pull it outside. So anything inside this cube now is an active selection. Anything outside is an inactive selection. So you can move it, and using my shift just to quantize it. And now, if I stretch it out, make it a bit lower and so forth, you will see that the only points that are included in this cube, in this box, are these 2 points over here. And if you have more points, you can go and extend this technique and apply this. So, but I want, so I'm going to call this box field 1. I need one more of these. I need to add it to my field list. And I'm going to set it to max, or you can use add in this particular case. I'm going to move it to the other side. I'm pressing shift again to quantize. And now we have in this polygon selection the 4 polygons that are part of this object. So so let's say points 1, copy this, go down points 2. Now what I want to do is select this edge in the middle. And I'm going to do exactly the same process. I'm going to go to the other tags, find an edge selection. I'm going to call it edge, just edge. And in here, I'm going to use yet another box. I'm going to say edge middle. Excellent. I'm going to move it right to the center of this, and it includes that edge. And I'm going to make sure that it's added in the field list. There you go. So we should have an edge selection with this. So let's go and test it now. These don't need to be children. They could if you want them to move. That's why you would make them children, because you want them to move. Another option would be, let's go and create a parent null over here, and you can move them out. It depends on if you like this configuration here where everything is underneath, or you want these to be, a bit separate so you can control fields and so forth. And I'm going to leave it as it is. I'm going to undo a couple of steps just to keep things simple. And now, first of all, the corner points. So this is going to be a bevel, using a bevel deformer. So the bevel deformer is down here at the end. I'm going to put it down here, set it to points, and grab the points selection. And here, I can add subdivisions and so forth. So what I'm having now is the ability for these 4 points to bevel. Had I not used this selection, it would actually go and bevel all the points. And that's why we made the selections, so that it only confines it over there. You can use secondary controls, like, for example, the angle control when it comes to edges and polygons. But this would do in this particular case. And you adjust it as much as you want. We're going to do, so bevel corners. The next is to create more lines here, more subdivisions, so that we can bend this using the bend deformer, and it'll be nice and smooth. And that's part of the pre-planning you need to make. And for that, I'm going to use another bevel deformer, funny enough. So let's go to the bevel deformer, put it here, set it to edges this time, use the edge and extend it and add some subdivisions. And is it solid? Let me see. Edge in the middle. Yep. And Y, let me see if I did anything. Subdivide center edge. Did I do anything different here? Edge selection, chamfer 35 and 5. Yeah, it seems to be edge middle. Well, that's interesting. Bevel edge, no angle threshold. My mistake, because the edge has that and it's on by default. It's expecting the edge, the use angle and the angle threshold. It will bevel when something is already bent. So the corner of a two rectangles that are adjacent. But I just want this to subdivide. So you turn this off and you control how many of these subdivisions you need. And the offset is the offset, sorry, from one side to the other. Actually, from the center, I think, on each side. Anyway, test it and measure it. But now we have our procedural, our quasi-procedural object. And the last thing we can do is go and add a bevel deformer. Let's set it to 30 degrees. You can see it bends that way. So I want to, let's say, lift this side. So I need to rotate it in place. I need to rotate 90 degrees this way, and then lay it on the ground so that 90 degrees. Always, if you miss rotate it, don't worry, just select it, go to the coordinates and make sure that these are rounded to the closest 90 degrees. Now, in order to make it look a bit better and work better, because you can see now it's raising up the whole polygon. You just want this confined in this little area here. Beware, because we rotated it, the axes are a bit off. So if you go to the bend deformer, just make sure that you know that the red is X, the Y is green, and the Z is blue. And I want the X to be quite small, 1 or 0. 0 would be the more accurate one. The Y-axis needs to be pretty close to where those the size of this bevel is. It's 11 times 2, 22, so it should be around 22. It's 21. 22 would make it mathematically accurate. And there you have it. You have your bending object. If you wanted to bend tighter, what you would do is you would tighten those lines. So let's make this, let's say, let's go half, approximately half, 6. Just make sure that this is 6 plus 6 equals 12. And again, it's going to be very accurate. And the final piece of this puzzle is, let's put it 30 degrees, just like our user asked us to do. You put it under a thicken. A thicken generator will allow this to get the thickness. This is centered. You can thicken it downwards or upwards. And basically, there you have it. You have something which is procedural. It works nicely, and you can go and change various things and so forth. So this will be the reply to that particular question, and the closest you can get to a procedural setup to create various things. And you can repeat this, just reposition your fields if you want to select other points, and so on and so forth. So what else? If there are any questions about this, let me see. Let's see. We have a little question here by Video Mark. I'm going to copy it from the general comments over here. Let's go to the comments and let's show this. Certification exam tomorrow. Oh, good luck. Does a certification playlist on this channel cover all topics, or is there anything else to narrow down except the topic list? Well, if you are, first of all, we don't have videos for every single comment specifically. All the information is generally available in many different forms. Of course, the unfortunate thing with creating too much quality content is that there's a lot of stuff you need to go through. If you feel comfortable about the topics themselves, and you know what they mean, and you understand the depth of the various topics, then you shouldn't have a problem. And if, for example, there's some questions about fields, you have to know fields. You have to know how they work, what the various blending modes are, and stuff like that. And we do have a lot of quick tips I've done that align to the certification and so forth. But generally, you need to be comfortable using the majority of Cinema 4D's tools. And yeah, again, good luck. And oh, I didn't show my screen. I'm going to show it again. So if you go to the field list here, we have the blending modes and all that nice stuff, which you need to feel comfortable with. Excellent. Again, good luck. Now let's see if there's another question here. No. So let's go to one of our other users' questions. I'll put my shiny head over there. So there's a question about nodes. How is the reflect node supposed to work? All right, let me copy that and go to banners. Too many buttons. So let me paste it here and add the banner, and let's show it. So how's the reflect node supposed to work? So I'm not going to go too much into this. The way it's supposed to work, as the help says, and I do have, let me bring in a file here. So basically, I have, this is a node setup. It's a bit complex because I'm trying to change geometry. Now, I didn't finish it because I got my, algorithm all messed up. But basically, what you are doing, you have a mirror geometry and or you can do this with points or another object. And this is the reason this happens is that again, I've messed up my minor math over there. But the gist of the reflect, if we go to the reflect here and zoom in, is that the vector is a line. So I can go here and do a doodle. Let's go do a doodle pane, and I like to put my doodle pane up here. So the idea is that you have two vectors, and vector, you can imagine it as a three-dimensional arrow. And let me go and use my doodle pane. There we go. So the top vector is a direction, right? Whatever direction is here. And the other vector, the vector 2 is the normal of a surface, for example, where you're going to reflect off. That could be a good example. So if you want to reflect off a plane, let's make this blue. Let's say you want to reflect off this plane, then the normal of this is facing that way. And what the reflect is going to do is it's going to give you another vector, which is the reflection of this based on this normal. So it bounces here and goes like that. So it's going to take this vector and put it here. Now so these two are parallel, this one and this one. Now there is some nuance. This is more of a, let's say, mathematical. It's not a reflect where you put one object here, one object here. If you want to do to make reflective objects, you will have to extrapolate the math and take this vector from here and move it to the surface. If you want to make something that mirrors an object, you do need to do some math. What this helps you with is not having to do the mathematical calculations, the vector math that provides you with the reflection vector. So that's why it's got this FX and no geometries and all that. So you would have to do ray collision to find for each point of one object. This ray collision needs to have a direction and a point. Of course, the start is going to be a point. The end is going to be some sort of direction, either to the center of the sphere or towards, I don't know, a certain axis. Then you need to find, using the collision node, if it collided, because if it didn't collide, that means there's not going to be any reflection. If it's going parallel, but if it's going to the center, and you have a sphere as a mirror, and so on and so forth. So it's not a single use node that will give you a full solution. I'm showing the ray collision, sorry, I want to show the reflect. It's not a single solution where you're just going to pipe a number of points here and then a number of normals here, and automatically you're going to get a reflection. No, you're going to get something like this if you don't do the math properly over here. So revert saved, yes, you're going to get some sort of garbled geometry, right? Because I haven't accounted for the difference between where the rays are going and all that nice stuff. So I know this is not a complete answer, but that is what I have for the meantime. Let me look at the chat. Let me look at the comments. And okay, let's go to some. Let's finish. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to try and finish with the questions I have selected from the Ask the Trainer form. And one thing I'd like to make clear is that we can't go through all the questions, and the reasons are a lot of the questions are very compound. They have a lot of elements. How do I do this and how do I do that? And we do sometimes talk about certain elements of that question, but sometimes it's literally impossible to unpack so much information in order to do something. What I'd like everyone to do as an exercise of asking questions is to break it down into components and thought processes. I think I'm going to do this that way. So how do I do this specific thing? That will be part of the process. It helps us provide more concise information that is more useful to everybody rather than, one specific full project where, everyone does different projects. So, okay. Let's polygon. Yep, this is unfortunately the one I'm going to post now. Is to show that there is no perfect solution for this. And let me add the banner and show it. So I'm trying to model a rectangle cologne bottle in Cinema 4D. I'm working with 1/4 of the geometry and using symmetry generators to complete the box. I'm having trouble regarding extruding and inner extruding. This is a very good question, because it's very easy to have this problem, and I have some sort of solution. Right now, imagine if you have a cube and you're modeling something out of this cube. This is something I've shown in an old Cineversity tutorial. I have no idea if it made it yet to the new Cineversity, talking about how to model using rotational symmetry. And what you would do in this particular case is always the wrong number. You cut it in 4. It doesn't matter if it's narrow or anything like that or thick. You cut it in 4 parts and you make it editable. What I'm going to do now is remove 3/4 of the model. I'm going to keep this. So I'm going to keep this 1/4, and I can invert my selection and I can delete everything else. Now what you can do, especially with the new symmetry, is that I can do a 2-way symmetry. One for the X, where this is just open, and I think remove, it's not outside. We have the tolerance. I thought there was something to remove the, there aren't no inner points. I was looking at the red reflection plane and I thought there was an extra polygon here. And I thought, why is that happening? So the next axis is the Z axis, right? Because I want it to reflect towards the Z. So I go to the Z and do plus to minus. Now, the great thing with this modeling method is that you only have to focus on one part of the model. So you can do this and you can do a bevel procedure manually. You can add some subdivisions. And you work on 1/4 of a model, which means you should only apply everything once. Now, here's the problem the user is referring to. If I want to take all the polygons up here and do an inner extrude that converges in the center, if I do an inner extrude, this is what happens. And that, unfortunately, there's nothing we can do about that, because as far as modeling is concerned, we're modeling on 1/4. The system is agnostic of what we as humans perceive as, oh, I want these as a single polygon. Now, there could be a solution. And let me see if this is going to work. Let me undo, right? And what I'm going to do is let's make this editable, just because. And if you wanted to weld, let's see, 1 second. Let me just put this under a. I'm just going to create the cube, the original cube. I'm doing too much stuff. There we go. So this is my original cube here. I'm going to not split it anymore. I'm going to make it 1, 1, and 1. So this is without the splits. One thing you could do is, I'm going to make it editable. You can actually model on the whole model using Symmetry. So let's pin this open, and let's go and do the Z as well. So although we're working with a single model, the Symmetry is going to propagate in 2 or more sides. So if I wanted to round everything, I would select this edge. Everything is selected. I will right click and bevel this and do this, right? So this is not 4/4 of a model. This is actually a full model where our selections and modeling operations are being propagated using a symmetrical way. So this means that the top is a single polygon. And do your inner extrude here, and then you can scale it down, and then you can go here, and actually I'm going to do it properly because I'm a trainer. I need to do things properly. So let's do this. 1, if I want to account for some sort of roundness and subdivision surfaces and all that. Now I can scale this in. Then I can fit a circle on this and apply. So now it's a circle. Scale it down, and then I can do my extrudes, and extrudes, and extrudes, and so forth. So I'm taking advantage of the same tool that allows me to model in quarters, and yet I'm actually doing the modeling on a single model, and that will allow you to circumvent the problem of the 4/4. So I hope this, it was helpful. One thing I do like to do is keep things clean, and if you want to clean this up, I can turn off my symmetries and all that. If you want to select all this polygon, just in case you didn't know, we have one of the most powerful selection tools is the Phong break selection. It's the most powerful tool with the most misleading name. Technically, it's correct. And what this allows you to do is look at these blue lines now. Based on the Phong angle here, you can define which polygons have a certain threshold between others. And then if you hover over here, you get all these groups of polygons. And just with one click, you can select all this and then do a UZ, for example, and melt it down. So yes, if you don't use the Phong break selection, please use it. It's extremely helpful when you're doing these things. And now you can always go here and do an inner. I don't know what's going on there. Something going on in here. Nope, it's nice and dandy. I want to go inside and see what's happening here. Now I'm curious. Yep. Oh, that's going in the opposite direction. Ha! You bugger. Yep, I would go and fix that later. But in any case, now you have this way to model with a 4-way symmetry without having that problem. Good. Let me quickly Let's see what else do we have here. Going down the user questions from the form. So the other question is copy. Let's go to our banners. And let's create a new banner and add it. And now show it. Can you use the scene reconstruction tools in Cinema 4D to do point cloud threading with an imported point cloud or any scattered collection of nulls? And the answer is no. And sometimes I had wished I had this. I'm not absolutely sure of what you could do with that mesh, because the meshing happens more in a way to create a background plate reprojecting materials, and it's not aimed at creating objects, like you would do with photogrammetry and stuff like that. Having said that, the alternative method would be to use the volume builder volume mesher. So if you do have a point cloud from anywhere, or a particle cloud or anything like that, using a volume mesher will actually create a sphere around each point as an SDF, and then providing you have all those SDFs, you can go and mesh it appropriately. It will create an outer and an inner mesh, but that is it's part of the process. But straightforward meshing like this, no, we cannot do, unfortunately. So I think from the questions, let me see if I missed anything. If you allow me to take a quick look. Instructions, these are questions we answered last time. And construction, cologne bottle. Okay. And maybe at the end, if I have time, I can revisit some of these. Let's move on to our audience right now. So let's, again, I have to move things around. I need monitors. I need a lot of monitors. Let's go to the comments. And see, question, a better way to see. Let's bring up in the order they appear. From Henry. Is it any better way to render original hair simulation from Cinema 4D? Rendering, you can render using Redshift has a beautiful hair renderer and spline renderer. But if you're talking about simulating, not rendering, creating the hair, no, we're still on the old hair system, which, to my understanding, although it's quite old, it's extremely capable. If you have, and just as a note, just to poke something here, although this is a very valid question, the term better way is not very explanatory. If there's a particular thing, Henry, you can't do, let me know. Oh, I've got workbook statistics. Yeah, sorry about that. It's just poking from my 4K monitor onto that one, like whoop, whoop, whoop. So if you have a specific thing you're trying to do, it's not working as you expect and so forth, that interests us a lot, because there may be some sort of knowledge gap somewhere in the hair system where we can address using a quick tip or a tutorial. So yeah, please let us know about the specifics. So let's move down. Let's go to Ahmed and let's show it. How can I pull particles towards a center like suction and then explode it? Well, depending on what you're trying to do, many ways, but I would say it's relatively simple. So let's do this. I have done quick tips, how to make exploding particles and so forth. So again, it all depends on what you're trying to do. So allow me for a drink of coffee. And let's visit this. To make it a bit more relevant with explosions, I'm going to create my emission using a sphere. And if you want the particles to be sucked to the center, one of the ways you can use is to use an attractor. Now, the attractor force has a speed limit so that particles do not go crazy, because we have inverse square, and when they go too close, the forces become immense. So I like to make this into a number where I'm okay with the particles reaching that velocity. And let's just make this 100, and we'll find out what happens. And let's shoot 1,000 particles, right? And they should start getting sucked in there. Now, the ones that explode out, that is because they got sucked in and overshot the other way around. That's why it's very important to tame them. You will see that it's going to happen even less in this particular case, right? Now, you want them to go towards something, get attracted somewhere, and then after a certain time, you want them to explode. So what I would do for something like this, I'm going to put on my particles, and there's some new stuff here which you can check out. We want them to go close, and we want them to, let's say, stop there. We don't want them to go through the attractor. So they get attracted, and then after a certain while, they explode. So we need to find a way to stop them here. We want to bring them close, but we want to stop them. So what you could do is create a field condition, because a field condition allows you to control things using field space. And you can put a spherical field, a tiny one for that matter, over there. So the thing I'm going to try and do here is give them a good stopping force when they get into this thingamadoodle inside the sphere. And of course, I can take this and remap it to 100%. So the minute they step in, they stop. And I don't need to have that as a child. And the way I like to slow things down is using a friction. And you can go on a large value with a friction. So you see now that the particles that go too close, and I can make my field a bit bigger. There you go. So this is one of the things you can do. And then you can time it so that after a certain amount of time, your particles may switch to another group. You can also do this friction with another group. So they don't continue getting attracted. So the attractor goes to the original particles. And then you can put a field condition under this. And instead of friction here, you tell the field condition to set the particles that are in here to switch group. And this gives you a bit more control so that you don't get the attractor and the friction still applied. So you say field condition when your true switch group. Now we have these little switches here, and these are going to be the ones that are slowing down. Good. So I'm going to put the friction here just to see them change color. Go to draw and set this to a constant red. So now the particles, when they enter there, they're going to become red. So they're not attracted anymore. They're just slowed down. Okay. Now, they are in here now, but what you want to do is tell the particles at a certain time, you can use their age or something like that, to then explode again, which we can use a negative attractor. So I'm going to keep it simple. I'm going to use a time condition, and I'm going to go around 80 frames. I'm going to say time condition. After they slow down, I'm going to put a time condition, and I'm going to say when the time is greater than 80 frames, switch group again. Simple as that. Switching groups is using group layers in Photoshop and all that. So I'm going to switch group. I'm going to switch to explode. And I'm going to make these blue, constant blue, so we can see the difference. And we're just going to see them turning blue after frame 80, because they have the same age. You can play around, boop, now they're blue. But here I can go and add a negative attractor. So let's put an attractor in here. In the explode, let's make it minus 1500. That's going to cause a mayhem, but I don't care. Boom and bang, right? That was it. I think 15 minus 1500 is too much. Minus 600. Divide and conquer to find your correct value. So get sucked. There we go. So get sucked. And let's make our basic emitter larger now. So select them all, press Control to make it bigger. So they go whoop. The ones that are escaping is because they never reach the sphere. And oop, what happened here? Changed and 80. Boof. Oh yeah, I think that's still too much. I'm going to make this 1500 so that even if they're pushed away, it should go. Oh, come on, that's too fast. Minus 60. There you go. Here's your explosion. Minus 30. So that's how you go about doing this. So, boom. Now, there's a nice little comment by one of our friends with Pyro, if that's the answer. Oh, that's an answer to a question. Anyway, what I want to say is that what you could do is instead of an attractor here, you can actually create a pyro explosion, and they can explode using pyro advection and all that nice stuff. So let me do do something. Let me do something here. We're planning to find a way to be able to share project files from these lessons and quick tips and all that, but it's still something that's been worked on for various reasons. So I'm just going to create, I'm just doing it on my other monitor. I'm going to call this lesson scenes, right, lesson scenes. And I just want to save this as particle attraction explosion. When we have that platform, we will let you know that the way to share files. Okay, so that will be my reply how to do these explosions. Let's see, where are we now? So I'm just going to post it. It's Ahmed again, just going down the list. I want to rotate particles in a circular path, and then how can I pull particles towards the center, like suction and then explode it? Well, if you want them to go in a circular path, again, if they're moving around something, maybe your emitter is a circle, right? And whoops, T. I want to press T. And you move this here and you move it out. When they come close to your attractor, they will be sort of sucked in, providing you have enough speed for that, and make the attractor less attractive. But if you want to do perfect trajectories and all that, it's very difficult to do it using attractors and gravity and so forth. As far as circular trajectories, well, we can use the newly added spline emitter, or you can use a helix. So this is new, the spline emitter. And in this particular case, what you would do is you would create a helix. Let's lift it up and make the inner start radius and the height 0. So you can define the path of the particles doing something like this. You can add a basic emitter, and let's sort of rotate it the other way around and move it close to this point here and make it smaller. Let's make it round. And let's go and add a follow spline. I was saying spline emitter when in fact I meant follow spline. And you do this, and you can use it in rail mode is a common way to use it. And it's going the other way around because I think I'm emitting, oh no, the spline is the other way around. So there are a few ways you can do this. You can invert the spline direction, or you can go to the spline if it has a mode and do that. So this is another way of doing it. Just predefine your path using a spline, and then you can control how fast they're going to go, the different methods. Age is a good one because it allows the particle, based on a time, to do the transition. I think the smaller this is, the higher this is, the faster they're going to move, and that's why they're losing sort of their where they're sitting here, because they're going too fast and they're getting attracted too much. And you can control these using the attractor strength and the attractor fall off and whatnot. So it depends on what you're trying to do. There are many ways. Your objective is what's going to define how you're going to move forwards with this. Let's quickly check out more questions. Let me make sure, see where I am. Let's go. Ambrose, hello from America. I was exposed to Alpha through Adobe After Effects. I'm starting to realize the limitations. Can you get me a discount on the license version? Me, no. That is something you talk to Max on, but I think, yeah, talk to Max on, and you can see what happens. But I don't think so. Another question, and this is an example of a question. How would you do an explosion with debris coming from an impact site? The general thing is you subdivide an object and then in certain ways, using MoGraph or using particles or using simulations, you create that explosion. It's not. So I'll show you a quick way. I don't know if it's going to cover what you're trying to do. So this cube is the road. And the road needs to be subdivided. So we're going to use a Voronoi fracture, which is part of the MoGraph tool. There you go. The Voronoi fracture will have a lot of points, let's say 600, right? So a lot of these. And these here are rigid bodies. There you go, rigid simulation, rigid bodies. Now, everything's going to fall. We're going to have explosions. We're going to have all sorts of things going on. I want to be able to control this because I'm making an explosion here. So let me see if I can go to MoGraph and add a MoGraph selection. And select one, then go to the selection, turn on use fields, remove the freeze, and let's add a spherical field. So I'm defining some of these here. Now, let's go to the rigid body dynamics, and it says here MoGraph selection. That means that anything that's active, if you drag the selection here, are going to be dynamic. The rest are not. So what you can do here is you can either move the sphere. I'm going to move the sphere up here, and you will see that there's no selection. And I want something that simulates an explosion. Again, for the sake of simplicity, I'm going to go for a negative attractor, minus 60, and make this 1500. And this is going to make the the fragments that are dynamic, it's going to sort of push them away. So now I'm controlling. We have too much gravity here. Maybe the attractor needs to be even more negative. Let's see. Yes, because particles don't have mass, so they're lighter and they will be affected more by the attractor. But I'm going to use force here and see if this is going to do anything outwards. I'm going to bring my attractor further down so it pushes them away. There you go. You can see they're starting to push away. Let's go more minus. So let's go minus 1500 because we can. Boom. There you go. So now we have the setup where, let me quickly go and say, I'm going to save it. So sorry for disappearing for a moment. Let's do explosion. There we go. So now we have this controllable rig where we have a spherical field and we do poof, 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 and move it away and poof, poof, and, in all sorts of directions. Now here, because we have sort of a radial configuration of what's going on, because the attractor is radial, what I could do is just move it down and make it constant. I can mask it using make it even stronger. Anyway, this is the kind of permutations. You can use a wind instead of the attractor. You can use some sort of force and so forth. So, yep, this is how you would go about doing something like this. Let's see. Where did I get version 2025.01? It's on the Maxon website. Let me just open it in a separate. So maxon.net. Let me quickly log in without. Here you go. Go downloads. And over here, if you go to Cinema 4D 2025 application 2025.0.1, right? That is the latest version. Or using your Maxon app. Good. Let's see, technical question. Yeah, I don't know if I can answer this. See, more of a technical question. I have created a shared folder so I can connect materials and so forth. So the same file path. My issue is I can save to shared folder, but I can't open up the file. Yeah, I don't know. This is something to contact tech support in case there's something that relates to your shared drive, if it's a NAS and all that. I do not know what the conditions are. Let's see. Let's see this one. Hi from Germany. Hi, I want to create a long smoke scene from bottom to sky. The question is, I want to let very slow, generate very slow, already use timescale. Example. So contact me on Twitter or something like that, or ask the trainer. But I would need to see some reference in order to understand what the specific thing is. Let's see here. What's that? Ellie talks about PBR lights, but I don't see them. What button is unchecked? I don't know. I think, Jay, you can ask Ellie what context, because our materials are PBR. Yeah, I don't know to the context this refers to. And hello, Studio. Can you please show a fracture object when it hits the ground, and again fracture when the collision floor rearward? This is something that it's not an automatic process. It needs planning. You can use connectors. Let me show you a very rough thing, but it will potentially not work the way you expect it to. So here's my cube, and let's go and add a Voronoi fracture over here. Good. And let's make this a rigid body. So simulation, rigid body. Now it's going to add some sort of collider floor, scale it up, make it invisible, and add a collider tag. Good. So the expectation is to only crack when it hits the ground, not the moment it touches the whole thing, explodes. This may be even more visible if we have more points here. Now, in theory, the way this should go about is you go to the connectors and you use the fixed connector, and the connector here should allow for, let's say, the Voronoi fracture. It's connecting all these, and it's a fixed connector, and it has a braking force, and a braking torque. When these are exceeded, this should break. We're going to play with the numbers, so nothing is happening here. What I'm going to do is go to raw shading, and I'm going to show you some of the current limitations of this. You will see now, if you put materials and so forth, these are not very visible. I don't know. Let's go and start IPR and see if we get any visible cracks. It looks okay. So, and you just go to the connector and you make sure that the force is it needs to be less. So let's make this 100 and 100. Torque means when the rotational force is something, and force is when the direct forces are something. Let's see when it will start breaking. There you go. So I can start going, let's say 200. Now, the reason I'm just raising them both is because I'm lazy. I don't want to think too much. Nope. You need to be a bit more. So double these numbers. And we're going to go by double and conquer. There you go. So this would be a way to do it. There are limitations about this because certain pieces do stay connected. You will have to change the braking forces if you want other objects just to break, because now it's just using a literal number, right? Whenever these forces exceed the forces from the collision, it's going to break. But the whole cube being a massive object would be more difficult to break, whereas this should be easier to break. And that is something you would potentially keyframe it or something like that. But this will be the overall method. You are going to get some elasticity here, these separating fragments and so forth. But depending on what you're putting together and how you're putting it together, you may be able to mask them and hide them. But this is your your blueprint for this. So let me save this break on drop no. Just keeping a record of these, and that will be the general method we'd go about that. Let's see here. Rune, do you have any ideas on sweeping a profile along all edges of a mesh that have angles above a certain threshold, for example, 90 degrees? Nodes? No. You could potentially, if this is what you want, do this. Let me close some files here. New, and let me close everything. Close all. New. There we go. So let's do something. I'm going to use a sphere because it has varied angles in various parts like this. And so you want to sweep, but you can do it in other ways. That's the whole thing. You can't sweep on edges, but you can use MoGraph and the edges to do various things. Now let me see the question again. Edges of a mesh that have angles above a certain threshold. Okay, I missed that in the original question. Above a certain threshold, because overall you can use edges and a selection to, just in case, for anyone that doesn't know, you can get an edge selection. Let's add a spherical field. So this is going to create a bunch of edge selections. Then what you could do is you can take a cylinder in the z-axis and make it nice and thin, and use MoGraph to clone on an object, but that object is not the object, it's the selection, the edge selection. And I'm going to go over here, select the edge, right, on these edges. Oh, it's not, I thought it was the Y. So it's the Y. Yep. And then scale, not offset, scale an edge and make it 100%. So this is how you would do this. Now, selecting edges have a certain threshold. That's actually a good one. I don't have a solution for that. Now, nodes or programming, I don't know how you would extract. Yeah, it's something that needs a minor mathematical intervention. So I don't know how you would do that. Maybe something with a phone. I'm not sure. I'm actually not sure how you would do that. Curvature. Wait a minute. Curvature. Let's see if we can. So there's a mode here. Right. Let me thinking. I'm thinking. Curvature of what? Let me do this. I don't know if it's going to work. Fields. I'm going to drag my sphere in here. I'm going to use curvature and reference radius, convex, concave, direct, new. No, I need to think about this. This is point surface curvature. There may be a way to do this. I mean, with vertex maps, thinking. So if you had a vertex map here, if you had a vertex map, you drag this in here and you said curvature, both convex. The angles are too small. Let's go and make this like that and see if that's going to work. So yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah, but it's probably something simple, but for some reason I can't figure it out. Anyway, DM me and we can have a discussion about this. Hit me up on Twitter. So let's move to something else. And oh, it's already past noon. Here we go. But that's an interesting question. Maybe there is a node method to do that. I have to figure it out. So, Francesco, what would be the best way to slow down an animation, like a MoGraph animation with fields not dynamic? It depends what kind of animation you're using, right? If you have a random field, so if you have, I'm just going to use a matrix for this, and I'm going to add a random effector, and you want it to animate, you can go to the turbulence and just set the animation speed. If you're using a noise to do something, you change the noise animation. So maybe you want a plane effector on this, and in the fields you use a random field, and you have some animation. You can change the animation speed, as you can see. So it depends, unless I know specifically what that how that animation is created. I can't provide a more specific answer. Okay. Right. Why is alignment in sub-object mode so bad? I'm coming from 3D Cinemax, the tool really much more logical and faster. For example, I want to align a vertex in relation to another vertex. Example, if there's something you need to do. So here's a general rule, especially from people that migrate from other software, which is a problem I'm going to have if I want to, do something. There was a time when I was working on the Houdini engine where it was very difficult for me to understand concepts, which in fact programmatically were more simple, but I was used to Cinema 4D's tools. Now, what are you trying to do? For what reason? Because maybe we have another tool of doing something. Where sometimes we have a problem is that we have the expectation to do the same process in a different software and expect to have the same tools, but that's not the case. For example, right, let's put it on an example. Okay, in Cinema 4D, you create a cloner and you put a cube underneath, and you have these clones. You scale this down, and you add a random effect. There you go. So 3 objects, and you tell it what parameters you want to randomize. Right, there we go. I'm sure you can do this in any software, but it won't be create a cloner, create this, create that. Okay, so what I'd like to hear from you is, and you can freely direct message me on Twitter, is what are you trying to achieve? What is what you're trying to make, and for what reason? And maybe I can guide you through what the suggested way is, if it can happen, right? Because some things work in different ways. So that will be very helpful. So yeah, so JC Motion Design. Okay, let's see what this is. How can the default project settings be saved so that they are the same when opening a new project? We used to copy a new file to the Cinema 4D storage and it worked, but it doesn't. Yeah, because the new file has changed now. If you go to the settings here, and I think it has to do with files, startup, default scene, logo, or custom. So you can create a number of custom different files and use them here. So this is, you drop a custom, and every time you create a new file, that custom thing is going to open. And you're not talking about project settings. Sorry, you're talking about project settings, not system settings. Yeah. So this will be the new way of doing this. Let me hide this. It's called startup. It's in the preferences files. And here you can define whatever scene. You don't have to call it new.c4d anymore. You can call it any name, put it anywhere, and just link it up. And that's how your project is going to open. Okay, let's see. Right. Alonso, Hello, what is a quick and efficient way to add opacity to a layer without having to use material, something like that? What layer? What opacity? I would assume you want to be able to see through objects. There used to be a functionality which I'm not sure works. If you go to render and put display, there was a visibility setting that allowed you to do this. For some reason, I haven't been able to make it work, and I have no idea why this is the case. And this will make the objects a bit transparent. You can use this in a different context, though. You can say use lines. And although it's not perfect, it does allow you to view things this has been applied to in different ways. So you can have, transparent, so to speak, objects and or non-transparent. Yeah, I don't know why this transparency doesn't work. So quick shading, visibility. I don't know. I do not know. Zero works. Everything else doesn't. I need to ask. I always forget to ask. But in any case, just changing this to lines or hidden lines, that's interesting as well. And that's something you could do. Okie dokie. I hope everyone saw this because I had that thing in front. Anyway, this is the menu. This is the visibility, which doesn't work. Or I'm using it wrong. I don't know. But yeah, turning this to lines allows you to do something like that. Right. How can I metaball, I think, with the emitter colider on the floor? You want something to sort of stick. Volumes, right? Let's do this. Let's take this. Let's take a sphere. Let's make it a few clones of this. Small. Let's go up here. Add a few more of these. Not too many. 6. Let's make it smaller. Go up. And I think what you're trying to do is, I wouldn't mind some meatballs now. Don't talk about food when I'm working. So this is a rigid body and this is a collider. So you want these sort of to bunch up, right? It's a bit too square. Let's turn it around. There we go. And let's put some stickiness on these things. So friction and stick. Let's make this area here have some friction to and stick to. So it's going to create sort of a blobby thing here, like whoop. And what you do, you take this and you put it under a volume builder, and you put that under a volume mesher, which is over here. And I'm going to bring them closer. There we go. So meatballs. There we go. So volume builder, volume mesher to create that sort of gooey stuff. I hope that was the actual question. Just saying hi. Let's see what else. Okay, so complex. Yes, 3D is complex. It's not one of those things where you can just open it and do what you want to do. Yeah, there's a process you have to go through. What I would suggest is generally, number one, follow the shows, watch how other people use it, watch the quick tips, watch the getting started, and start simple. Just start simple. The tools, the 3D tools, are just tools to do certain things. If you want to make, visualize complex ideas, everyone needs to understand generally what 3D is. What are we doing here? What are these objects? What are volumes? What are meshes and so forth? And for that, sources like Cineversity and so forth are are quite good at providing that information. But good luck, my friend. It's, it has a slightly steep learning curve, but Cinema 4D is the easiest way to learn 3D. So what you're seeing, which is difficult, it's easier than other platforms and more artist friendly. Okay, and we're approaching 15 minutes past noon. Let's continue a bit until we go through all these questions. What is this? Let's see. Oh, that is a reply for someone else. Good. Thank you very much for participating. X-ray. Yeah, X-ray is a very good idea. And let me go here. The X-ray tag exists in the basic X-ray. So this is the X-ray. I don't know if visibility affects the X-ray because this is all we get here. I don't remember if no transparency doesn't make it better. Ooh, let me see this just in case. Does visibility change this? Nope. So yeah, this is the X-ray. You can sort of see through, but it's a bit, a bit. Let's see here. Second question. So I master After Effects first before moving to 3D. I'm interested in VFX. There's no direct path. You can go either way. Whatever you do, you have to understand the fundamentals of what you're trying to do. So After Effects appears more simple because you're just dealing with layers of images or videos, right? You can just put one on top of the other and then change the opacity, and you have a mix, and that's more direct. In 3D, you actually have a whole world. You have this oops, I clicked new somewhere else. So you have this infinite world over here, and other than pulling assets from your asset browser or loading objects, which could be a start to learn to move things around, you have to reconstruct most of the stuff because you're not getting an image. It's as if you are a camera operator and you have a camera on your eye and you go out to shoot something. At least when you're shooting, you shoot whatever is in front of you, tree, people, a band playing and all that. In 3D, you need to construct your world. So you need to generate your world, even if it's a very small world, if it's just, one tree in emptiness and all that. So that's why it's so complex. You need to create a world and then go in that world and do whatever video shooting you want. What I would say is you can complement the two. There are a lot of crossover things like layers, blending modes, and so forth. Those are things that, if you want to be a VFX artist, you do need to master. Why do we multiply shadows over footage to make them darker? That's one of the simplest examples I can give. It doesn't multiply, make things brighter. Multiplying a number with another number gives us a bigger number, right? No, yes, but usually black and white is from 0 to 1. So if you multiply a number from 0 to 1 with another color, it will darken it if it's not 1. Everything less than 1 make it darken. So multiplying when you're using in After Effects or Photoshop and all that is used predominantly to darken things. Whereas conceptually, it's used to lighten things, to make things brighter. Let's multiply the light by 2. Wow, 2 times more light. So these are the concepts you need to start understanding and working on both the 2D world with After Effects to understand the concepts of pixel mixing. That's what After Effects does. It just layers pixels on top of each other. And Cinema 4D, where it's more a structural thing, creating worlds, creating objects, materials, and all that. I would say there are crossovers now in both softwares. If you're using Redshift, for example, the way you would layer two materials is conceptually the same as the way you're going to layer two layers in After Effects. So these are concepts you need to know if you want to, evolve and do more complex visual effects. the number one thing is try and have fun. Do things that impress yourself, like, oh, look at it and say, I'm actually proud of what I'm doing. It's a hard, path, but I do think it's very well worth it. Okay, let's continue. Let's see. Yeah, if something doesn't work, I can't give a specific reply. Let's see this. I mean, UVs for 3D text objects in the Z dimension are very squished compared to text spline extruded. Fix it. Well, it's a procedural object. You can't fix them. I do not know. This is something you need to send it. Yeah, send it as a report, and they will let you. They will let you know. I'm more about solutions. If it works with an extruded object, just do it with an extruded object. Let's see now here. I'm learning Symmetry from 2013. I still think there's a lot of new things I don't know, like the Notion. So I first used Cinema 4D in the late 90s. What does that put it? What was the late 90s? So it's 24 years and 2000 plus something. So I've been using Cinema 4D for a quarter of a century, and every day I learn something new. Every single day. The depth of Cinema 4D is, it's amazing. And there are things I don't touch. There are things that, they're quite more advanced. I don't want to touch. So yes, there's a lot of stuff. Define advanced Halal Studio. We're trying to do a mix. The problem with very advanced tutorials is that they have a limited user base. If you are at the point where you consider yourself advanced, you will be able to figure out things just by knowing how they work. The problem is a lot of intermediate users, and this is very common, that are quite good within a certain range of work, want to do something extremely complex. That is a bit harder. For example, there could be certain things in order for you to do them, you need to learn a bit of Python or a bit of nodes. None of those are a bit of, though. That's the problem. It's not, oh, I'll just learn this one tool and I can solve it. No. You get to a point where you can do a lot of the stuff with MoGraph and so forth, and you want that one little thing to do it using Python. You have to know the language. You have to know the SDK. You have to know how the systems work behind there. So it's not a little step because I want to do a small thing. It's actually a giant leap because there's a lot of information you need to know about before you get to that. So we're always adding tutorials. If there's something specific subject you want us to address, please let us know. All right, last question, and then we're hanging up. I have created an animation that took 22 hours to render. How can I render only the ambient occlusion without having to render the heavy animation again? Well, the solution is quite simple. You just create a new scene or a new take, apply a material that only has the ambient occlusion, and treat it as if it's some sort of AOV. And this will take away any of the other nuances of the scene. Now, if you have things like transparent objects and so forth, you just need to accommodate for that, make an object opaque without any other aspect, so you can see partially the shadow behind it and all that. But overall, that would be the way to go. That's it. I think we all did good. Everyone behaved themselves, including myself. So yeah, I would like make sure that nothing else. If I missed a question or something like that, please use the form or DM me on Twixer. And once again, I want to thank everyone for participating in these shows. It does, allow us to get a bit more context on what our dear users are struggling with. Try and be specific. There are a lot of channels of communication. I never turn down anyone's direct message unless it has nothing to do with Cinema 4D. But every single user that has direct messaged me, at least I acknowledge and I respond, and in many cases with either a solution or a direction towards something. But please make my life easier. Send me the simplest form of a scene. I know it takes time, but if you're not going to do it, I'll have to do it. And I can't, because I have to deal with many of these requests. So simplify your scenes, delete everything that doesn't participate in in the exhibition of the problem, and no third-party things. I do not work with third parties. My Cinema 4D versions are all vanilla. Haven't even installed the plugins that uh, I I didn't make them. I offered on my YouTube channel for free. I haven't even got those installed. That's how vanilla my versions are, because it's very important for me to be able to do quality control as well while I'm using the software. So clean everything out. If it's not about materials, remove all materials. Remove all tags that have nothing to do with the problem, and make it easy. Allow me to open the scene and with a single click understand what's going on. And in that case, it's going to be easier for me to address these things. And yeah, let me just post the t-shirt link. Oh, actually, I'm going to post the link that takes you to all the links. So let me just do this. I'm going to go and put it in the chat. And I don't know if there's chat replay, so I'm going to go to the banners and show it up so you can do this. And again, I don't know if the QR code works, this one. If it doesn't work, I mean, just type this. There we go. So let me close the other banner. Oh my God, too many buttons here. So where's the banner? I've lost the banner now. There you go. Found it now. Okay, and go get your t-shirt, House of Polygons, for the month of September. And we have an interesting show on Monday we'll create with Max on that we're going to show the new features. So I bid you all farewell. I'm going to put some music. Let's see, which music shall we put? Is there some music here? I'm going to add some music and then I'm going to add something else. Toodaloo, everyone.